Best team in baseball? Probably still the San Diego Padres. But right now, the Cleveland Guardians look really good.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us on Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. You can follow me. I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTube page. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to tell your friends. Make sure to make it your first listen. And if you're listening every day and you want to post something on on one of the social media sites, make sure you use that hashtag EverydaySully. It helps us know who is following us every day. Believe me, it makes a little bit of a difference here. The trivia question, finally get to move on from it. The question I had was, when was the last time the World Series was played between two teams who finished April with a sub 450 record, either 450 or below? In other words, not off to a great start. And a couple of you really answered with confidence on some wrong answers. One of my listeners, let's see if I could pull it out here, which one it was, because it was wrong. And it was done with great confidence. Here it is. A couple who said 05, but the White Sox got off to a good start there. And I think it was a useless trucker who a couple of people said Colorado Rockies, but the Red Sox got off to a great start. And I was hoping it was a trick question. The answer is 95, since the season was only a couple of days old by the end of April. That was who was this one? That was Cubs fan. That was my good friend Marcel there, Cubs fan. Nope. Big John 08865, who gets a lot of these questions right, got it right. He said the answer to trivia was 1991. Both the Twins and the Braves finished in the month of April 1991 with losing records. Now, keep in mind, in 1990, both Minnesota and Atlanta finished in dead last place, and they started the season a big old clunkaroo, and they went on to go on to the World Series and play what I believe is the greatest World Series I've ever seen played in my life. The 1991 World Series was the most exciting World Series that I watched. Now, there have been other great World Series, to be sure, but that was the one where every single game was just with one exception, game funker. You need to have one bad game to sort of reset, but that's a fabulous World Series. And it's because I didn't really have a dog in the fight. I was 19 years old. I was in college, and I liked the Twins. I really didn't care for the Braves, but it wasn't like I was rooting against the Braves. I was in awe of how great that World Series was. Obviously, another great World Series recently was the 2016, where the Cubs and then there were the Indians, now they're the Guardians. They locked antlers, and especially in that Game 7, which has to be one of the great games in baseball history. Well, the Cubs won that one, and the Guardians are still waiting for their win. But the Guardians are off to they got off to a little bit of a bad start, but now they have really figured something out here. They have won, they have won 11 of their last 14 games. It's never the wrong time of the year to win 11 out of 14 games, especially when you're playing the Yankees. When you're playing the New York Yankees, then, that's a team that we're all expecting them. I've made it very clear. I think there's a tremendous amount of parity in the American League right now. I don't think there is one super team to be had, but the Yankees are clearly going to be a good team. They're off to a very, very good start, even without Cole, even so far without Stanton. But Stanton looks like he is starting to get warmed up. Well, the Cleveland won a tight, exciting game on Monday, 6-4. And then on today's game, Ben Rice led off the game with a home run off of Tanner Bybee. And the Cleveland bullpen is a little shorthanded today. And so there's a little sense of, oh boy, here we go. But give Cleveland and Bybee credit. He let up that leadoff home run, and he let up only one more run over his 6 innings. And they got tremendous work from the bullpen without using Class A. And they won in that Cleveland style. The Yankee pitching was actually pretty damn good. Warren pitched in the 6th. Leiter didn't pitch particularly well, but Hill and Weaver both pitched well. There was only one inning where Cleveland got to score. And if you look at how they score, they didn't score with the big bombs or anything like that. They got there was a stolen base and a wild pitch that caused 1 run to score, and then Manzardo got a double to make the tie of the game, and Angel Martinez got a grounder. Just put the ball in play. Don't wait for the home run. Put the ball in play and find ways to win. And that's exactly what Cleveland's doing right now. And I think that's, I'm seeing more and more evidence that seems to be a good way to do business as a baseball team. Put the damn ball in play and roll the dice and see what happens. It happened big time in the game between the Red Sox and the Seattle Mariners, where in this afternoon, where there was a tight game, and then there was a couple balls that were hit in play. The Mariners made a lousy throw to first base and really opened up the game. And the Red Sox turned a tight game into a 4-3 win. Put the ball in play and good things happen. And Cleveland is playing really great baseball right now. And Cleveland is in first place right now, which, again, I don't really check the standings until after Memorial Day. You can't really take it. But Cleveland's finding ways to win. Cleveland is finding those ways to pick up wins here or there that they, on a regular situation, you're thinking like, all right, you shouldn't have won that game. And the more of those wins you pile up, the better off you're going to be later on. Here's how I know that's happening. Right now, the Cleveland Guardians' record is 14-9. They have the best winning percentage in the American League. Okay, why am I bringing it up right now? They have scored 95 runs over these 23 games that they've played, and they've given up 96. That's right. As of right now, the team with the best winning percentage in the American League, in first place in their division, has a negative run differential. Now, that may come back to bite them and haunt them later on when things even out, or if they find ways to improve the squad, be a blessing that in a period of time where they were being outscored, where they should be with a negative run differential, they should be even 500, basically, or maybe a game under, maybe a game over, but either way. Instead, they are 5 games above 500, and in a time where they're actually, you can make the case they're not playing great baseball, they're winning games. And this is, once again, I'm sending this call to action to the Cleveland ownership. Make a trade. Bring in someone, even if they're expensive. Absolutely bring in someone, even if they're expensive. Because right now, the team with the best winning percentage in the American League ranks 25th in payroll. 25th. Hanging around teams like the Rays, who always have low payrolls, the Sacramento Athletics, and the team with the lowest payroll of them all, that is the Miami Marlins, which is a travesty for a team that was in the playoffs just a couple of years ago and play in a city that should be a huge market. Now, Cleveland does have a $100 million payroll. So, okay, good. They've finally gotten over that threshold. But once again, you are seeing teams that are in the mid-range of payroll that are not particularly very good. If you don't believe me, the Colorado Rockies payroll is $20 million more than Cleveland's right now. Yes, it's not always based on quality. Of course, a lot of that is tied into Nolan Arenado and to Chris Bryant, but I digress. If Cleveland can look at players who are available at the trade deadline and maybe fill in some holes, this could be a legitimate pennant not a fringe pennant contender, or hey, they got in because it's the AL Central. They could run away with the AL Central if their payroll to somewhere in the middle, just somewhere in the middle. And for those of you who are brand new to the show, I break down our season into thirds. The first third of the year is opening day to Memorial Day. That's basically when you're trying to, you're getting used to the season and you're starting to see, all right, who are we? Around Memorial Day is really the first time you can say, who are we? And at that point, you say, okay, we have about a third of the season to do maintenance. First part is introduction to your team. The second third of the season is maintenance. What moves do we have to make before the next third of the season is over? Because at that point, it's the trade deadline. After the trade deadline, you say, this is what we're going to bat with. This is who we have. Now, if you take right now, you are seeing that they're getting some good pitching. You're seeing that Bybee pitched well again today after a rough start. Allen has pitched well, and their bullpen, Clase, is off to a rough start. He's off to a legitimately rough start. So they've handed the ball over to Cade Smith, and Cade Smith is doing some of the closing. And eventually, hopefully for the Guardians, Clase will find his way back. But they've made some tough decisions, including putting Tristan on the DFA list. This was a guy who just a couple of years ago looked like he was going to be a bright young star in their pitching staff. He's still only 20, but it turned into a numbers game, and he is DFA'd. And if you're a team that's on the periphery, if you want to pick someone up, there you go. But you can see they may need one more starter on this team. But they certainly, as of this recording, need some help in their outfield. Quan is great, and he's a spark plug. But Lane Thomas is off to a crap start. Nolan Jones is off to a crap start. Jhonkensy Noel is off to a crap start. So if you look out there, and you may see a Lewis Robert Jr. or someone like that who would be available, you may want to do that because mediocre is better than bad. And Cleveland, you could win it all with this team. Certainly get back to the World Series. Just make a few of those additions and see what you've got. Pull a little San Diego in you, who made some decisions, including signing Nick Pivetta, even though it cost him a draft pick. Oh, he had the dreaded qualifying offer. Whatever shall we do? Well, I'll tell you what San Diego did. They said, we're trying to win right freaking now. And he's won 4 out of his first 5 starts. It's an ERA of 1.2. And the Padres won yet another shutout because the Padres said, we're trying to win right now. I'm not saying you got to spend like the Dodgers, but if there are bats out there, you've got to make a run for them. When we come back, there's another franchise that is currently in near the bottom of the payrolls, and this one is a real disgrace. Get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades. Supply House, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast and from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free trade master program offers exclusive perks like dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. The other day I made my plea for billionaires to please, please, please use baseball as your, your private playground. And I said, I think we need 29 billionaires. That may be a bit of an exaggeration. But one of the teams that desperately needs new ownership are the Pittsburgh Pirates, who this year has just been, I mean, it's been a clown show for this team. First of all, they had all sorts of things they're doing wrong just in terms of PR, like removing the bricks of the people who bought, those bricks outside of PNC Park with their names on it. So it would be there forever. And they moved all those bricks away. And I guess they're putting them somewhere else, but they didn't tell people what they were doing. So it just looked like oh yeah, those bricks you bought forever. Yeah, we ripped them up. They removed signage for Roberto Clemente because, yeah, that's a smart thing to do. All these things that you think, like, is anybody minding the store? Is anybody in charge of this idiocy? And the fact of the matter is the Pirates are in a situation where their ownership is they've been in the Pirates ownership has been in place since the 2007 season. Robert Nutting has been there, and the Nuttings took over in 07. And since then, 07 is, we're approaching 20 years, okay? It's been a while. This ownership is not brand new. And in the history of this ownership, they have had 4 winning seasons. 18 years. Okay, they finished 17 years, of which 13 out of 17 years, they're a sub 500 team. That's inexcusable. I mean, you have seen teams that are, low budget teams that have had a good run and then gone back and had another good run and gone back. The Colorado Rockies have had 2 good stretches in that and since then. The Marlins have had a good stretch in that run. The White Sox have had a good stretch in that run. And all the Pirates have had are those 3 years, those magical 3 years, 2013, 14, 15, where you saw the potential of the team. They play in one of the most beautiful ballparks in all of baseball. PNC is a masterpiece. It's almost as good as the one in San Francisco, with a great view of the city, the great sight lines. It doesn't feel like a generic park. It feels Pittsburgh. It exudes Pittsburgh. And when the Pirates were good in those 3 years, there was tangible energy. If you saw that wild card game between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, where they defeated Johnny Cueto and moved on to the division series, that place was absolutely rocking. And they got to within one swing of getting to the league championship series. Now, they had the horrible luck in 2014 and 2015. And actually, all 3 of those years, 2013, 14, 15, their season ended in a do-or-die game where an ace threw a complete game shutout. Adam Wainwright in the 2013 division series, Madison Bumgarner in the 2014 wildcard game, Jake Arrieta in the 2015 wildcard game. And since then, they've had 1 winning season and haven't come close to a winning season since COVID. Now, the last couple of years, 2023 and 2024, after back-to-back 100-loss seasons, there was a little bit of hope. You've got the O'Neill Cruzes, you got the Cabrian Hayes, you got some of the players that are like, are they going to be good? Are they going to be good? And they're playing in a division that's winnable. There's no superpower in this division. Not the Milwaukee Brewers, not the Chicago Cubs, although you got to give the Cubs credit this year because they just have the Padres and Dodgers number. Somehow the Cubs won 11-10 in extra innings tonight. I don't know how that happened, and neither do you. But back to the Pirates. Now, as I'm recording this, the Pirates are currently beating the snot out of the Angels, which is another team that needs a new ownership, but I digress. But you take a look at, if this is coming from the top, you're taking a look at a team where they are, they've whiffed on trades. They've, the Garrett Cole trade, the Chris Archer trade, they've had so many trades that they've whiffed on. And now they have Mr. Skeens, who is a phenomenal talent, the type of player you build a team around as an ace. And you would think there would be a sense of urgency. Oh my God, we got a legit ace. And we got O'Neal Cruz and Brian Hayes and a couple other players who could be pretty good. And let's go out and start spending. Let's go out there and really try to improve the team. Maybe not haphazardly, but maybe, I don't know, just maybe make an effort to put a decent product on the field. And right now, they have a lower payroll than the Guardians. Their payroll is under $90 million. Are you and in a winnable division? And it's a disgrace. But it's beyond just not spending money. I mean, this is an organization that has whiffed and whiffed and whiffed. Just look at it, first round picks in 2009. Let's just the first. I mean, I'm not going to go the first year with the Nunnings running the squad. The first, let's go 2009. They had the number 4 pick overall. They could have had Zach Wheeler. They could have had Drew Storen. They could have had AJ Pollock. Oh yeah, they could have had Mike Trout. They got Tony Sanchez. There you go. For people who love WAR, just so you know, as of right now, Mike Trout has a career WAR of 86, and Tony Sanchez has a WAR of 0.1. In 2010, the Pirates, once again had a decent draft pick. And hold on, let's open up baseballreference.com, the single greatest website in the history of the planet Earth. I mean, the point I'm making here is that year in and year out, the Pirates have been in a situation where they have had high draft picks. And with the exception of Skeens, how many times have they just absolutely done a major whifferinio with one of those first picks? For whatever reason, my screen's not refreshing. I had a whole bunch of things up there. And for whatever reason, I had internet issue last night too. So there you go. Let's just go look at this here for a second. Picks by franchise in the first round. Let's go take a look at how great the Pirates have drafted over just look at the first round picks. And all right, they landed a good one, the Garrett Cole, and then whiffed on the trade. And then they drafted a before this ownership came in, they drafted Andrew McCutchen. But the Reese McGuires, the Connor Joe, to Brian Hayes was a good one. Nick Lodolo was a good one, but he didn't sign. The Shane Bazzes, the Travis Swaggertys of the world. They had the number 10 pick in Travis Swaggerty. And again, he made it to the major leagues. Anyone who makes it to the major leagues, is by definition a good player. But, Nico Horner was available. Shane McClanahan was available. Chris Bubeck was available. I'm not saying they're always going to, hit, but every once in a while, you're gonna get a big one. But then they get, they've had several, like Tamar Johnson hasn't made it yet. Okay, he's still coming up through the minors, so there you go. But they had a first round draft pick named Sammy Ciani, who has played in as many games in the major leagues as I have. And like 2 spots after them is Matt Wallner. Why do they keep missing on their draft picks? Why do they keep missing on the signings of their players? Why do they keep missing on this? And the fact of the matter is, it has a bad taste in the mouth of the fans because they know if a player is going to do great on the Pirates, they're just going to go. If you don't believe that, look at my listener, Tim G, who says future Dodger Paul Skeens. That's one of the things that's so demoralizing. If you're seeing, we're building up to something. I saw that with the A's left and right, that you're building up to something, but the minute they ask for more money, they're going to go. They're going to leave. And there's that sense, that resignation of 2 things about Paul Skeens. Is that A, he's going to eventually have to have Tommy John surgery because everyone's afraid of that. And that the second he can go, that the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Mets or the Red Sox or some team is going to try to sign him as his free agent date is coming up in 2030. So if you're a billionaire, look at the Pirates. You don't have to build a new stadium. You don't have to build up a fan base. That fan base is dying to explode. But since the Francisco Cabrera hit, they've had 4 winning seasons. 4. That's not That is on ownership. That is on who is running the show right now. And frankly, if baseball had a commissioner, it would be nice if they did. This would be the sort of thing that you take him aside and you say, hey, buddy, it's time for you to actually put a product on the field or maybe sell your damn team. Because do you know why? The product you're putting on your field sucks and it's bad for baseball. And I thought that's kind of what the commissioner was supposed to be into. Hey, looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios is one of the highest nut proteins. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats. Now, this is my favorite. Let me put it up there. Yeah, I inverted that copy. What do you want from me? This is the roasted and salted pistachios. These are really good. These are really good for that quick on-the-go snack. You don't want to get a cookie. You don't want to get a brownie. You don't want something that isn't good for you. This is good for you, and it's just as delicious. It's fantastic. And I personally like them out of the shells. This is how I like them. It's out of the shells. And these little green runners, they pack a protein punch. But do you know what? Some people like the shells. And that's one of the great things about wonderful pistachios is they're all the different varieties. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. You know, sometimes we pay tribute to players when they pass away or when it's their birthday, but I felt like paying tribute to a player who, you know what, just in the light of things, I just felt he's worth giving a salute to, and that person's name is Jim Eisenreich. Now, I don't know if any of you remember who Jim Eisenreich was, but Jim Eisenreich was a solid left-handed hitter whose best days were in the the late 80s into the mid 90s. And his story as a player and as a man is one that I think is worth talking about now. Now, he was from Minnesota, which is not necessarily a hotbed of baseball players. Um, Obviously you have players like Joe Mauer and Paul Molitor and Dave Winfield are Hall of Famers from there, but it's not, you don't usually get lots of Hall of Famers from there. Not, but he was from St. Cloud, Minnesota, and he was a good player as a kid, but he had all sorts of strange tics, and his face made tics, and he would jerk around. He couldn't stop blinking his eyes, and he was the absolute target for bullies, absolute target for people being made fun of. As he was growing up in the 60s, lots of bullying. There was lots of bullying when I was growing up. There's lots of bullying now. I see it. I'm a high school teacher. And imagine a kid who just can't stop blinking and making weird noises, little jerks. And oh my God, he got so teased. And even his high school or his middle school coach would make fun of him because he would make all these noises and everything like that. All right. And it made this kid, Jim Eisenreich, feel like he was weird. It made him feel like he was a loner and that, you know what, who would want to be around someone like him? And then he found a way to get back at the bullies. And that was he was really good at baseball. This kid who had funny tics and everything like that was really good at baseball. And he wound up playing in college, and he wound up being drafted by his hometown Minnesota Twins, and was a good player for the Minnesota Twins. In his first year, he came up, he batted .303, and then his tics and some of the things that were happening were getting out of control again, and he couldn't control it, and he couldn't play. And 2 months into the 1984 season, he sat out. And he had 3 nights in Boston where he couldn't control his tics, and people wrote him off as a strange case of this person who was a bit of a weirdo. And then did he have mental health issues, or was it something psychological, or was he just out of control? And it turns out he had Tourette's syndrome. Now, a lot of you may think you know what Tourette's syndrome is. You think it's all people who yell and bark stuff and everything like that. I've met a lot of people with Tourette's syndrome over the years and my time doing what I do. And one of my dearest friends from college had Tourette's syndrome. She had it pretty acutely. And it's simply being unable to control some parts of your face, some noises you would make. I remember my friend would, constantly be clearing her throat and making little noises like, "Woo, woo, woo," which I'm sure, if you don't know what it is a prime target for bullies everywhere. But he was diagnosed properly with Tourette's syndrome and was able to control it, not get rid of it, not cure it, but control it and get it under check. And then the Kansas City Royals, who were coming off a World Series championship in 1985, gave him a shot. And in 1987, he made the Royals team. And he played a couple of years as a part-time player. But then in 1989, he played 134 games. He was 30 years old. This is well past he's a top prospect. At age 30, he broke through. After a life of being bullied, wondering what's wrong with him, even his coaches laughing at him and being totally dismissed. At age 30, he figured out what was happening and turned it around and won the MVP of the Royals. He was the MVP of the Royals on a team that had Bo Jackson and Mark Gubiza and George Brett. And he was a 293 hitter as a full-time player in 1989. He batted over 300. He batted 301 in 1991 and then signed with the Philadelphia Phillies in 1993 and played 153 games, batted 318, and was a huge part of why an incredibly unlikely Phillies team went on to defeat the Atlanta Braves and get to Game 6 of the World Series against the Toronto Blue Jays. And later, in that weird 1997 year where the Marlins put together a super team for 1 year, he played on that team and batted 500 in the World Series, hit a home run, had an OPS of 1.511, and earned himself a World Series ring for his trouble. Before age 30, he never played more than 82 games in a season, and it looked like his career was over. After age 30, he played over 100 games 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times before finishing his career with the 1998 Dodgers and finished with a 290 career batting average. Not bad for a kid who was bullied. Not bad for a kid who had to quit Major League Baseball and then come back and not make his mark until he was beyond his 30th year. Letting him know that it's never too late to pursue your dreams, and there's no obstacle too great to get there as well. Now, he's become a public speaker, and he speaks to children and families and is a piece of inspiration for kids who think, am I weird? Is there something wrong with me? No, there's nothing wrong with you. No, you're not weird. You're dealing with something, and that sometimes needs help, and sometimes that needs support, and sometimes that needs empathy, and sometimes that needs getting someone to say, hey, don't pick on that kid because he's weird. And he has established the Jim Eisenreich Foundation for Children with Tourette's Syndrome, and it's become a place for kids to look up and see a sense of inspiration. Representation is important, and as is the ability to look up and say, hey, wait a minute. If Jim can do it, so can I. Or if Jim can do it, at least I can try. And for anyone else who wants to look at someone and say, hey, they're a little weird, they're a little unusual, don't judge them. Do you know why? They could wind up batting 500 in the World Series. Let's salute Jim Eisenreich, not because he died, not because it's his birthday, but because he's the type of person we should celebrate. And it brings us to today's trivia question. When Jim Eisenreich left the Twins early in the 1984 season, what outfielder was recalled to take his place? That's a trivia question. Put it right down here. And you could follow us as Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. You can follow me at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, but mainly just put it right down here on YouTube. Talking about the Cleveland Guardians, who are winning big and should reinforce a potential championship team. The Pittsburgh Pirates, who, come on, someone buy that team. It's sitting there, and you could be a hero. And Jim Eisenreich, who is a hero in every sense of the word. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.